Hey, we made it to another episode 4. We haven't been canceled yet, Darren. It's spiked up with Darren and Matt. How is quarantine day 2,560 going for you?
Oh man, it's same old, same old. Now we're struggling through. The latest escapades, we were playing indoor volley tennis, which is a combination of volleyball and tennis in our garage yesterday, and it ended with Edmund smashing the ball and hitting the light in the garage, and it teetered at the top and then just crashed down, and Faith came in. What the heck? It's just broken glass everywhere. And bless him, James says, "Mummy, I won though."
And we should go back to the checklist that we did in episode 2. I'm sure you can fix a light, no problem, right? My wife asked me, "Hey, can you build a fireplace on our back porch?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me look that up on Google." And it was like the most I was like, might have to call someone. But yeah, no. It's,
my way of dealing with it is just, all right, we just close off the garage now for the next 2 months.
Garage is closed.
Get the police tape. Just.
Oh my goodness. Oh
dear.
I did sneak off this morning, and the good people at Dunkin' gave me a nice coffee. That it is nice to escape for a second, So.
Yeah, well, great minds think alike, because I did the same. Just any excuse to. I love just going to the drive-through just to get out of the house.
It is the best. Any errand, I volunteer. I'm like me. I can, it's crazy. How you don't need to buy gas anymore. It's like you can't even make the trip to the gas station anymore to get gas. But no, it's real. And I know, look, hopefully it's getting better, and it sounds like things are getting better, and we'll see how everything goes on this. But still wish you and the family the best, and can't wait till we don't have to do a Zoom call anymore and we can get our friends in the back. But I thought I would start. Did you, there's no sports on and we'll get to Thursday in a little bit, but it was nice. I don't know, Sunday night, it was kind of fun to be on Twitter where everyone was actually watching something at the same time. Did you watch the Jordan documentary?
Yeah, it was really good, wasn't it? It was exciting. It felt like it was almost a live event, so it was quite nice.
It was so nice, seeing other people watching something you're watching. I know Tiger King, people are watching, but this was a live event people could actually watch, and it felt so nice. It felt great. It felt like I was back in society for a second, and you could actually, look at Twitter, real life, and everything like that. But what did you think of it? I thought it was fantastic.
It was. So for me, a few things, because I sort of knew about the Bulls and Michael Jordan when I came over in sort of 91 to university, but I had no idea. So for me, the big thing was he wasn't drafted number 1. I know we'll talk about the draft later on in the show, but whoa, how the hell did he not get picked number 1? And who was the guy number 2? Because I obviously know about Hakeem, but who?
So that's the big trivia question that is asked a lot is, because Hakeem Olajuwon was one of the greatest college players of all time. I think him and Patrick Ewing changed the goaltending rule because they would just block everything, right? So Hakeem legit number 1, and he won 2 NBA titles.
Yeah, he did well as well. So that's fair enough. But who the hell was the other guy?
So the Portland Trailblazers took Sam Bowie number 2, and you got to think that. I would put it in your shoes if you were the president GM during that time, and you passed on Michael Jordan, took Sam Bowie. No offense, Sam Bowie. Would that just haunt you for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I'm assuming. I couldn't believe. Literally, I was just because they showed all his highlights in college. Clearly someone's going to take him, but it was.
Yeah, and it's funny too, that whole thing where they said when he went to the Olympics, he had already been drafted by the Bulls, but they were like, if they had done the Olympics before the draft, he would have probably gone maybe even before Hakeem Olajuwon. He kind of, if you look at it's kind of fun, and it's kind of ties into our academy too. He was a late bloomer. He just kind of, even in college, he was good, but you knew he had the talent, and then he just kept getting better, and then he became the best. And I love that.
And I love the guy who's his teammate at UNC that said, he wanted to play with me and I was better than him for about 2 weeks. But he said, great when it about 2
Who,
weeks.
yeah, and he's who is one of the greats too. I mean, he was a fantastic player for the Lakers, that's the best part, and it is cool that they allowed that film crew, and I think leagues are doing a lot more of that, with the Hard Knocks, and I think we get a lot of access with Atlanta United, and that will be fun one day to archive and tell our whole story and that kind of thing too. So I can't wait for that. It'll be great.
The other bit that I was sort of impressed by, that I, again, hadn't realized, so I didn't know the early Michael Jordan story, was just how focused he was, even in that first year at the Bulls, where he tells the story of, on the hotel on the road and going into the hotel room, and, all he really cared about was playing and practicing. And I think that gets forgotten, because I was thinking back to sort of players I've known, and I've always speak with our academy about Harry Kane. Like, Harry Kane was, he was a good player, but ultimately he was the most determined and focused. Yeah. And it's no accident. You see Cristiano Ronaldo, and the view is this is a bit of a, he's got the talent and he cares about the off the field things, but there's no one more single-minded and focused, and it's no accident that those players get where they get, because you need that self-discipline and that focus.
Oh, and by the way, so that's awesome. But it is your turn to get a guest. So are you promising me someone might jump in on this today?
I'm hoping, yeah. Sort of particularly the time we're in this week and the big sporting event that's coming up later. I was trying to get a guest on. We'll see.
All right.
See if that works.
See how it goes. I wonder. Yeah, you kind of touched on it for a second, but like when you were in England, like, did people realize, like, Michael Jordan and the Bulls, or did you kind of come in when that was starting, that dynasty?
Yeah, so I was fortunate. So I came over in '91 to come to university. So I was there for the start of the Bulls. And actually, for me, I suppose I liken the Bulls to like Manchester United, the sort of dynasty. I was always be rooting for whether it's the Phoenix Suns or the Utah Jazz, because you just wanted someone to take them down. But then after time, you turn full circle, and then you're like really hoping that they can make it the Tiger championship.
I think Tiger Woods is the same thing. He's the only thing I can think the same thing to. I was the same way. I actually was a diehard UNC basketball fan. So I knew of him. I was young, but I knew when he came up. And then when he scored 63 of the Celtics, I was sold. And I had every Bulls jersey. It's funny, I still have my like caricature shirt. I hope they bring those back too, with the big heads and everything like that. Those are the best shirts of all time. I want to buy some more of those. But I was wondering, I was looking at that team. You have your Michael Jordan. That probably is your Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi or whatever. But and then Scottie Pippen, which, by the way, whoever did that contract is, that was pretty spectacular of how little he got. He was like he was probably a top 10 player in the league, but he was I think he was 120 something paid player in the league. So whoever did that contract, either the agent he'd probably regret that for the rest of his life, and the GM will, kind of check that one off. So that's.
Although, did you see that over lifetime earnings, his wife, Scottie Pippen's wife, put out his lifetime earnings were higher than Jordan's, because he did then go and get the big contract.
Yeah, he went to the Rockets. Yeah, and he did get the big contract. So good for him. But I just, it's so crazy. Like, he wasn't even the second highest paid player on that team. But then it comes to Dennis Rodman, and I think they're going to get to that in the next series of the documentary. But I was wondering who is kind of the Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman of soccer that you've seen.
Yeah, look, it was interesting, because when you look at it, it's fascinating for me that how they build a team and in a salary cap environment. And it's slightly different in soccer, because I think, soccer is 11 players. It's a little bit more of a team environment. And clearly there's no Michael Jordan was just unbelievable. He could drag literally anyone with him to a championship. But I was thinking about it, for me, like the big dynasty team in sort of my era in soccer in England was Manchester United, particularly when they won the treble in the 98-99 David Beckham era. Then they were, champions again the following season. So when I think about it, like, Paul Scholes for me is the biggest underrated player in English football history. So For he's that Scottie Pippen of that Manchester United team. He didn't seek glory. He wasn't the superstar, but he was the glue that basically made that team as successful as it was. And without him, I don't think it happens. So for me, like, Paul Scholes is criminally undervalued. Everyone knows David Beckham. He was the face of the team, the glitz, the glamour, but Paul Scholes was the glue that made that happen. And then Rodman, for me, if you're having to draw an analogy, I mean, so Roy Keane, who was the captain of that team, he didn't care about the media profile. He didn't care about the goals. He just put the tackles in. He won the battles. He frightened the life out of the opposition. And again, you know, he made that Manchester United team successful, but he was not bothered about the glory, or, you know, let David Beckham go and do the TV appearances and win the contracts for advertising, etc. Roy Keane was all about just winning, getting his job done, and scaring the life out of the opposition, which he did a pretty good job of.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, you know me, I got into soccer a little later, but I didn't. I enjoyed it. Would Balotelli be? Here we go.
Oh, there we go. Look,
special guest. Special
Rich,
guest.
thank you for joining us, sir.
Rich McKay.
Good morning. How are we? So you're going to deal with the fact that there are guys out there with blowers and the like. So you're going to hear some noise, background noise. That is not Hunter out cleaning the lawn. Be assured of that.
I was going to ask you, I think Darren and I are probably jealous of you because during this quarantine, you don't have two kids under the age of 8, and that makes your house a living nightmare.
Yeah, I could not imagine it. I would imagine that it would be a constant. I wouldn't imagine there's a lot of naps or rest or anything like that if you had those young ones running around. So God bless you. No, I have Hunter came in and is staying with us. Hunt's, not 8. So he's a little easier to manage.
Well, Rich, great for joining us. It's a good segue. We were talking about the Michael Jordan documentary on the weekend. And for me, I didn't know about his early career. So I couldn't believe it that he was drafted 3. So we were just laughing about the guy drafted 2 and the GM forever is going to be painted with that brush.
I'm old enough where I do remember him. I remember the draft. I remember the discussion. And, there was some debate and everything else. And I remember it was about, Darren, it was probably halfway through that season that I remember everybody saying, hold it now. This guy's just a little different level. And there was no more – Michael Jordan, the run he had it's phenomenal because he was the best player in a sport forever, for his whole time. He was never not the best player, and that's very unusual. Whether it's in golf, with Jack Nicklaus was the greatest, no Arnold Palmer was, no Tom Watson was better, no, all that goes on in sport. That never went on with Michael Jordan. He was incredible.
Rich, and Darren, you two know way more. You guys get to make a lot more decisions than I do when it comes to players. Candidly, do you ever? Is there?
I love the fact that the blower is right outside of my. This is not a studio.
Quarantine. This is quarantine 2020. It's okay. Do you ever? Is there ever? You can tell us if you want, if you don't. But is there like a moment in your mind where you're like, man, that guy, I took this guy and not this guy?
Yeah, sure there is for me. Definitely. I've definitely had that moment. I remember in Atlanta, we were at pick 8 and Adrian Peterson, the running back. We were trying to make a trade to go up to 5, and at 5 we would have taken him. And we decided to stay at 8, and we thought for sure that at that point he was going to make it, and he went at pick 7. And that one hurt because I remember going home that night saying, there's a little bit of the guy we took was potential that never turned out to be a player, and the guy we missed is going to be in the Hall of Fame. So yes, I remember that night knowing that just had happened.
So what's great, Darren, that's the last time I was allowed in the draft room. Rich to let me come in there. And Rich, we'll talk about the virtual draft in a minute, but you probably do like the virtual. One thing about the virtual draft, you don't have slappies like me coming into the draft room, but I remember that too. And we all were like, there's no way the Vikings are going to take Adrian Peterson. They have like 4 running backs, and then they take Adrian Peterson.
Well, they did what you're supposed to do. They took the very best player. When a player's at a different level, even though it may not be in a position of need, when he's at a different level, go ahead and take him.
Yeah.
And they did that. But I didn't think they were going to do that. And we never thought he'd make it to that far anyhow. But all of a sudden we got our hopes up, and then not so much.
So, Rich, we're excited in the sporting world. I mean, it's going to be incredible, this draft on Thursday, given that literally there's nothing else going on. I mean, obviously it's usually a big deal anyway, but this time I think it's going to be just incredible, the level of focus that's going to be on it. How's it been doing it virtually?
Darren, I've never seen – I mean, I give usually the people, the support people, let's call them let's call them IT, let's call them analytics. Those people do a lot of work for the draft. But let's not call them essential people, right? When this word essential that we use in this pandemic, I wouldn't call them essential. The essential people are the scouts and in many cases the coaches. In this draft, they are essential, and they have been essential because it's just so different preparing from everybody's house, having to do Zoom meetings as we're doing today, having to do it with players that are Texas Tech and players that are Arkansas, doing all these things that are all driven by technology, has brought them as essential to the draft. So totally different. I think the ultimate draft itself is not different. It's still based on scouting. It's still based on how good your scouts are, how good your system is, how you rank people, how hard you've worked the last 2 years. Remember, we've been scouting this class for 2 years. So I think that's still at the core of what we do, but its operational side the last 6 weeks has been very different, and kind of fun to watch. Had a meeting last night on the porch with Dan and Thomas that got my throat a little bit because it involved a cigar and went through a lot of their thinking and work. And, they've just done so much good work. I mean, they're right in the same place they would be if we were in Flowery Branch. And that's a credit to them, but it's also a credit to all the support people that have been thrust into a situation that you just wouldn't have imagined, 2 months ago.
And who, give us a little bit of intel, because we're going to do a competition for a Select 7. There's going to be 7 questions about the draft, but our tiebreak is going to be how many trades out of the draft pick in the first round will there be? So those 32 picks, give us like a sense of your feeling on where that number's
so the
going to be.
over-under, I think a good number for over-under in the first round is 6, right? Pick 6. If there's 6 trades, or more, I think that's a lot of trading going on in the first round. If there's less, then people stayed home, meaning they stayed at their pick and took. I will say on this draft, I'm still going to go with the over because I just feel like there's a lot of movement being discussed right now. I don't think the operations of the draft virtually are going to change the early rounds much, Darren. I just don't. I think people are they're going to have their conversations. There's 10 minutes to pick in the first round. There's 7 minutes after that. You've got time on the clock. Yeah, I'm showing an old-fashioned phone. It'll be more headphones like you're using. And you can do things. I do think it may impact the draft later in the draft. I think in the later rounds, sometimes we start doing trades where we're trading a 6th and a 7th for 2 7ths and a later 6. I mean, there's a lot of moving that goes on, and it's just to incrementally move like 5 moves, 5 draft slots. I don't know that that's going to happen because you are going to be a little nervous about time at that point, and you are going to be nervous about, can I get this trade in? Am I going to make sure that I make it in time? I think there might be a little more staying home at that time, but I don't think I think you'll still see movement in the first round.
Rich, do you worry like with the virtual, like, are you worried about, someone on their iPad and someone hacks in, Jerry Jones is on his iPad and someone sends him a dirty link or something like that?
It is. It's certainly not impossible. And so I think the way we've looked at it, and I'm sure every team has looked at it this way, is, you just start with levels of redundancy, right? And so the base level is the printed reports, which we haven't used forever. Thomas has the printed reports and lists, and he could go right from them. So if everything crashes, or if the enemy hits the room on the side of technology, you can go to the basics and just use your cell phone and call it in. And then you add above that, every layer is complexity and the ability to have meetings like this with 20 scouts on it. The ability to have another meeting with, Arthur, me, Dan, Tom. I mean, we've got a bunch of that layered in. There's a chance something could happen from a cybersecurity standpoint, but I think that the league is doing it the same way. From the league's operation, it's a very fundamental system they're going to use. They're not trying to get complex because they're worried the more complex they get, Matt, the more they do risk that.
I'm going to have to send Thomas a drink when it's all over, because I get stressed at the Coca-Cola fancy draft we do with the Falcons when I'm putting it in and the clock's down to 10 seconds and my computer isn't registered.
You gotta go.
Goodness knows how he's going to be thinking.
Darren, it will definitely be different, because usually, we're sitting in a room, we're sitting at a table, there's a board in front of you, there's magnets that have the names of the players. It's very, it's very touchy-feely, and you have time, and it will definitely, as you get to rounds 4 through 7, we actually have 8 because of the compensatory picks, but it will just feel different. And that I will be interested to see. And then the other thing is, you're sitting at home and the guy outside could be doing the blower like it was. You just don't have those things controlled. It's like when I have these meetings and kids are running in the background or everybody's nervous about it. It's like, no, don't get nervous about it. It is what it is. It's different. So his photographer, if you see social media stuff going out for us on draft day with Thomas, his photographer, his ace assistant is his son Mason. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does in doing all the filming of Thomas during that time. Should be fun.
That'll be great.
Rich, who are I know you built a couple really, really good teams in your past as a GM. Who are some of your faves? I know you've told me about Warren Sapp and how that went down, and Derek Brooks, I know Rondé Barber, guys like that. Who are some of your faves that you've drafted, or maybe like a one that you're proud of that you got?
Yeah. So today is today is the 25th anniversary of the draft of drafting Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks, which is my first draft. Maybe I never had as good a one as that again, but so there's a lot of stories that go around that. My favorite player and favorite moment of how the draft worked out was really probably when we drafted Warwick Dunn in Tampa, because the interesting thing about Warwick was he was a great football player, but he's 5'8", 180. And in those days leading up to that, there was just this absolute statement that small guys will not hold up in our league at that position. That position just will not tolerate somebody weighing 180 pounds, right? Just not going to happen. And so we had scouted him so hard. We'd all been to games of his. And every time you went to any game of his, it was very simple. He was the best player on the field. I mean, there was no question that Warwick Dunn was the best football player on the field. But that didn't matter. He was 5'8", 180, and so forth. So my story on him is we were in the interview room, which in those days was in the old Holiday Inn in Indianapolis. Just terrible setup. Amazing, we're in the NFL, and that's how we set up. And we sitting there, and I was with Tony Dungy and I and Tim Ruskell. And Tony had a very simple way of interviewing. He only asked a couple questions. I mean, he wasn't trying to get psychological. He just, he'd ask about the family. He wanted to know the kid. And then he always wanted to kind of know, how did this player picture himself, right? How do you see yourself? So he asked Warwick, I remember very specifically, he said, Warwick, what's the best thing you do as a football player? And if you know Tony Dungy, if you've seen him, he's very fatherly, right? And he's very, you sit up very straight when you're around Tony because you just want to be at your best. And Warwick he didn't even think for a second. He said, I score touchdowns and I win games, and the teams I play on always win. And that's it. That's all he said. And so we had just started this interview. We had 15 minutes, and Tim Ruskell looked right at me and said, no more questions. Thanks for coming in, Warwick. And we shook his hand, and he was gone. And the way he said it, there was so much conviction. Literally, we all said, we're definitely drafting him. He's definitely, forget that he's 180 pounds. We're taking him. And
what
so
number did he get drafted at?
We took him in the first round, and we took him at, Darren, we wanted to take him at like pick 25. We were convinced he'd be there. And every day before the draft, we talked ourselves into, hold it, better move up. And we ended up picking him at maybe at 15th. We picked him in that round, and he was a great player. Had a great career. Ran for 10,000 yards. I mean, he's just a great player. But he was he's one that I remember well, because all the things that we thought, all the rules we had in the back of our head, he violated all of them. And yet, you do draft individuals. They are people. And they will, whatever your thoughts will be on speed, on I need this quickness, on I need this change of direction. It's interesting how guys will violate the rule because they're just great players. And he was an example of that.
Well, it's interesting on the Michael Jordan, because they were saying that, weren't they, at the time? 6'6", he'll never make it in the NBA. It's going to be different.
You need to be 7 foot. They had those guys interviewed, said, yeah, he's not 7 foot. He won't impact the game. Yeah, that's crazy.
Darren, I will, after this, I will send you one of the greatest YouTube clips of all time. It's the New York Jets draft blunders. And they during that Warren Sapp draft, all the Jets fans, it was in New York at Radio City, I think. And they're like, we want Sapp. We want Sapp. And it was a no-brainer. They're going to take Sapp because he dropped so low. And then they took a tight end. And then, Rich, you got him in the next pick, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Minnesota, they picked at 10. Minnesota picked at 11, and then we picked at 12. And Minnesota was all set to take him, and they didn't take him. And so we did. And he's a good football player.
Yeah, he was a monster.
Darn good football player. That's for
sure.
So,
Rich, you want to give us spiked up with Darren and Matt an exclusive? What are we going to take?
You guys won't show this till after the draft, right?
Exactly.
So, I'm guaranteeing you this. It will not be a kicker in the first round. No way. No, seriously. Just don't.
No, we're not taking the Georgia guy.
Rodrigo.
I don't want you to share this until after the draft, but I'm just so you guys can know you're guaranteed of that. Guaranteed. Will not be. Be fun, though.
Rich, we appreciate you coming on. I know it's a busy time, and wish you all the best in the draft. It's going to be exciting to watch.
Darren, it's good to see you.
Good luck.
Good to see you. And let's get back to playing soccer and football soon.
It would be nice to get out of the quarantine. We're ready, especially, like we said, having children under the age of 8. It'll be welcome. It's going to be great, and can't wait to see you in person. But yeah, like Darren said, good luck tomorrow, and we'll air this tomorrow. But so good luck tonight, I can't wait to see who you guys draft, and we can't wait to welcome them to Atlanta.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay.
It was great.
That's pretty cool. So no, it's interesting. So as our listeners will know, we're going to launch our Select 7 for the draft tonight. So we'll have 7 questions, 3 options, pick them, and I think winner we're going to get a number 7 signed Jose Martinez jersey. And more importantly, you get invited onto our podcast. And I think whoever wins it, I'm going to get them on my fantasy team for this year, because I need to win that. I mean, I struggled in the last 4 years. I need some expertise on that.
All right. I love that. I'll even do this. So I think I'm still invited back to the fantasy team. So I will have the second place person on mine. That way we can do that. All right, so let's recap. So winner, if you get all 7, you get to attend a game with you and come on the podcast, right?
That's the sort of the bonus prize.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I don't think anyone's going to get all 7, but if someone were to win with a perfect all 7, they can have a behind the day scenes with me at a match at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
We'll let them come on the podcast, and then I thought you and I could do a little. You and I could go head to head. Maybe I thought maybe winner or loser donates, what do you think? $100 to charity, something that, maybe one of the good COVID foundations right now that is involved with the Blank Foundation.
No, we'll do that. So $100, perhaps the Atlanta Food Bank.
Yeah, I love it.
Community Food Bank, we'll do that.
Yep. I thought that'd be good.
All right, I'm going to get back on the phone to Rich in a second.
I know. You have the inside scoop. All right, so let's go through them. So we go, what number the Falcons pick first? Or you want to go through these? So you want to go through the 7? And we'll talk about it?
Go on, you fire away and...
All right, so number of Falcons.
To make my pick now, or?
No,
right,
we'll be discreet, but let's just go through them. So the Falcons' first pick, it'll be 1 to 15, either 16 or 17 or later. So that's kind of guessing if they trade up.
Whether they take their pick or they move up or move down. Interesting with the Falcons, because Thomas obviously has a history of moving up in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what the viewers think on that, what they end up going for.
Yeah, he's very aggressive. But you never know. Sometimes you can go back and get the player you want and get some more picks. I like this one that you have. Team to draft Tua Tagovailoa. I think I said that right. Miami Dolphins. I believe are they 2?
They're 5, aren't they? But the theory is they might trade up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Take him at 3.
Chargers or anyone else. That's a good one because there's some injury questions and things like that. What are you thinking on that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. I think it's that injury thing, because Rich spoke about it with the virtual draft, but he didn't mention one of the issues is no one's been able to do any of the traditional medicals that you would do in the 2 months leading up to the draft. So it is going to be interesting whether people play it safe and don't take that risk.
All right, then we got number of Georgia Bulldogs drafted in the first round. I love this one.
I put that one in for you. I thought, I needed to have a Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, I like it. 0 to 1. 2 or 3 plus. It's a good one. I like that. I think this one's the toughest one because I listened to a few podcasts. First wide receiver drafted, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, or anyone else. And I've heard there's a couple guys that may, have jumped over a couple of CeeDee Lamb and Jeudy, but it's all smoke and mirrors, so you don't know.
Yeah, no, tricky one that. That's why we tried to pick ones that were at least difficult for our viewers.
If someone gets all 7 of these, that is going to be awesome. Total QBs drafted in the first round, 0 to 3, 4, or 5 plus.
Again, tricky one this because you're just not sure if there's going to be a late round pick. Does the Patriots take one?
Someone could trade up in the last. A lot of times someone will trade up in that last pick and get a QB.
Particularly because you get the right to a 5th-year extension, don't you? If you take them in the first round. So.
Correct. Yep. And then you have the cheap quarterback, and you can have all the expensive stuff around him.
Yeah.
First offensive lineman drafted in the first round. Is that Tristan Wirfs, Jarek Wills, or anyone else? I don't know. I got to be honest. I'm out of the NFL game, so I gotta do my research on these offensive linemen. And then we have the Falcons' first pick. So we'll give you. I can't even. My printer is terrible. So who are those names?
So the ones that we were.
Yeah.
1 sec.
Yeah.
So is it Chason? It's one that a lot of people were linked with.
Yeah.
I think, did we bundle him with
Ebenezer?
Yeah. So Ebenezer was the guy that the Falcons were linked with early, but he sort of dropped on a few boards. And then you had Henderson or Kinlow as the other.
Or anyone else. And then the tiebreak, which we talked with Rich on, how many trades in the first round. So that's your tiebreaker. I love it.
That'll be good. I fancy.
It'll be good. We'll make our picks. We'll make them public, and then we'll send a link out, or how we're gonna do it with social. And we'd love to have everyone interact. If we can have fun. This airs tomorrow, so tonight during the draft. So we'll be on Twitter and we can interact and have fun with everyone.
Now that'd be great. Looking forward to it. It's fun, isn't it? Just to have an event though, with some sports to it.
I'm actually, like I said with the Jordan documentary, I am just craving sports. Like I will watch I think there's a couple horse races like that are still going. I'll try to watch. I mean, I need something. I need sports back. Please, please, please. I really do. But all right, Darren. Well, thanks for this. Thanks for getting us Rich, and we will see you next week. And maybe it's
next week's one, Matt. I thought we'll talk a little bit about perhaps some of the drafts we've had on the draft team.
I think that'd be awesome.
So it'd be good to go through that famous one with Miles Robinson and Julian Gressel and just sort of give the listeners a bit of a background to that one.
I think that is a great idea. And, you know, our executive producer, Mikey, he probably has some footage of that too that we can share and kind of complement that. I think that's a great idea. And we'll work on a guest as well. That'll be good.
Good stuff. Well, stay safe, everyone.
All right, see you, Darren, and we'll talk to you next week.
Cheers. Go Falcons.
Let's go. Make a good pick.